All right. So in the interest of time, I think we should get started. So my name is Leslie Akla. I'm the founder of Sukumo, and I'm staying off camera because I know not everybody has good internet, right? So I want the meeting experience to be good for everyone. So I'm going to stay off camera, but I promise you I'm not a ghost. So if you go on the Sukumo website, you'll see that I recorded a little video where I show my face. So you know you're dealing with a real person here. But really the reason why I started Sukumo is because I realized that teachers and students and parents of JHS candidates were not getting the level of support that they need to make the important decision of what program or school should a student read, right? I myself wrote BECE several years ago. And as of when I was writing the BECE, there was not a lot of support. And unfortunately, that still seems to be the case. The example that I shared in the video on the website was about my younger sister who got into high school in Ghana to read science, and I was asking her why science, and she just couldn't tell me why science. So that was one of the main reasons why I decided to do something about that problem. The other thing is the school selection process has gotten more and more complex, and I'll explain to you how the 2026 school selection process is even more complicated than it was in 2025. You know, the other thing I want to help with is to make it easy for everyone engaged in the process to actually build a selection that meets all the GES rules. Because as of last year, there were over 100,000 BEC candidates who were not placed. The reasons were not given, but it's most likely because they chose their schools in a way that didn't meet the GES and CSSPS placement requirements. So that is another reason why. And I believe that school selection, program selection, it's one of those decisions that lives with you for life, right? So we need to help our young kids to make those decisions the right way. So if you are here now, I think you're interested in the process for one reason or the other. Either you're a student or you're a teacher or you're a parent or you're a guardian or you're somehow connected to someone within the process, right? So that's the goal for today. Let's spend a little time discussing the school and program selection process. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat and we'll answer them as we go. The way we'll be going about this, discuss the school selection process, the do's and don'ts, and then we'll show you how the Sukumo tool helps you in that process. Please drop any questions you have in the chat and we'll take them at the end of the presentation. So let's talk a bit about school and program selection, right? So the way I look at it is I feel like a lot of focus is given to the school selection when in fact the program that you choose, in my opinion, is like, also very important, right? But the way this is discussed today in Ghana, every focus is on the school selection process. But I want you to, if you are here today, I want you to rethink that, right? I want you to consider that process in two parts. Think about it as what program do I want to read and why? Then the next step is where can I read this program? And the reason why I position it that way is you can read a particular program in so many different schools. And at the end of the day, if you perform well in the WASI, you can read the course that program allows you to read afterwards, right? So for example, I can choose to read science or business or visual arts in any one of the 900 plus schools that offer the program, right? But if I choose to read the wrong program, and by wrong, I mean program that I do not have interest in, it does not tie to my strengths. And so eventually the pathways that program leads me to, I don't enjoy them. Then it's a bigger problem than reading a program that you love, right? But in a school that you don't really like. So think about the program separately and then think about the school as the way to read that program. Don't put the school before the program, if that makes sense. So that's the one mindset shift that I want to encourage everyone on the call today to have. The second thing is think of the school selection process as based on probabilities. So what I mean by that is depending on the grade you have, right? Obviously, you can have a very good aggregate 6, 7, 8, 9, and be competitive for the top schools, right? But if you have, say, aggregates 15 or 18, you don't want to select a school just because you want to go there. So make realistic choices, and I'll show you how Sukumo helps you to do that. That's the second thing I want you to consider. And then on top of that, I want you to think about the different programs that you might have interest and strengths in. So if, for example, you take the quiz on Sukumo, and I'll show you what that means in a bit, and it tells you what your top 3 options are, then you want to discuss with your parents or teacher what that means for you, right? You know yourself the best. What we offer you or show you as options based on the answers that you give us within the sukumordotcom tool, we don't know you more than you know yourself or more than your parents knows you. So take those as suggestions and then have a discussion. If 2 programs seem interesting to you, it's fine, right? If 2 programs seem interesting to you, it's totally fine to spread your selection across those programs or those programs across your selection, right? So those are a few key things that I wanted to highlight. Now, some things that I want you not to do, right? Do not leave the process into the hands of someone at an internet cafe or your parent or your teacher to select for you, because once you do that, it means that you are putting your future entirely in the hands of other people, and you don't want to do that, right? The other thing, do not choose schools and programs because your friends are choosing them. So we came into this life alone, and we'll be living alone, and career is just like that, right? Whatever program you choose, whatever schools you choose, whatever programs you get, yes, you might have some friends there, but think of it as your life and your future, right? So I know that, as young people or as teenagers, we often like to have our friends around us, but for this exercise, don't consider it that way. Think about it as, this is what I am strong in, this is what I want to do, and so this is why I am choosing these schools and these programs. In terms of the process itself, this year, school selection will happen after the BECE results are released. I'm not very sure that it was like that last year. If it was, please let me know. But to the best of my knowledge, I think this is the very first time that is going to happen, maybe in a long time, right? So the advantage of that is you will know your grades before you choose your schools and programs. And so that makes it easier for you to build a more realistic selection of schools and programs than if you were choosing the schools and programs before results were released. So I personally like that change. And so I think you should take advantage of it. And I'll show you how Sukumo helps you to do that. So it looks like attendees are itching to see the demonstration. So let's jump right into it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how Sukumo works and how it can help you in the school selection process. So let me share my screen now. Give me 1 second. So the first thing you want to do is go to sukumordotcom. And before I even get started, the person who asked the question, please drop your name your name and phone number in the chat, because you won yourself a little participation gift. So the first thing you want to do is visit sukumordotcom, right? And what that brings you is a page, the landing page that you see now. And I would encourage you to, once you land on the landing page, just take a couple of minutes to look around, tap on some buttons and see how things work, right? And you can also watch the nice video that I put together. But the webinar now is going to show you exactly what is in the video as well. So if you want to refer to something that I say later, access it from the video there. So basically, there are 3 steps to using the tool. Step one is setting up your profile, and that's just as simple as putting in your grades and information about you. Step two is choosing your program. I'll show you how that works. And step three is building your school selection, right? You want to scroll up and tap on the Get Started, or you can also start from here, Get Started, the button, or you can start from Set Profile. All of those will take you into the school selection funnel. And so I'm going to tap on Get Started. Now, the first thing it asks you for is your name, but that's optional. But for the purpose of this demonstration, let's say my name is Leslie and I add my surname, and then I'm a male, right? So I choose boy. What this does is, if you are a boy, Sukumo is smart enough not to present to you girls' schools, right? That is one of the common mistakes that some people make, whether it's because they leave their selection to other people to do or whatever reason. So that's the first step that Sukumo takes to actually help you with your selection. Then the second thing that you do here is you input your subject grades. Like I said earlier, because this year you'd have your grades before you select schools, that's easy, right? So you select your grades for the purpose of demonstration. Let's say all my grades are grade 2, right? So I'm going to put 2 in here for all my grades, and then you'll see that Sukumo automatically calculates your aggregate for you based on your core and your best 2 electives. So my grades are grade 12, aggregate 12. And so the next thing that I would do is to click on Next, Choose Program. Now, if you are a teacher or you are someone who is helping multiple students, you can tap on the Reset Profile here, right? To, let's say you've done the process for student 1 and you want to restart for student 2. You want to clear the profile and put in the new or the second student's grades, just so that you are getting accurate information for them. I'm going to tap on Next, which is Choose Program. There are 2 directions that you can take for Choose Program. Direction 1 is if you know what program you want. So if you know what program you want to read, then you can select it in the first option. Let's say I want to read General Arts. You see that as soon as I choose General Arts, it populates at the bottom what we call the fit preview. The fit preview is simply looking at your grades that you have put in and saying, okay, Leslie wants to read General Arts. Is his grades or are his grades in the subjects required for General Arts strong enough for him to read General Arts? And I'll show you what that means in a bit. So because all the grades were grade 2, we think grade 2 is a strong grade. And so for most schools, you are likely to get into the General Arts program. I need to call out, though, that depending on how competitive the school is, grade 2 in or aggregate 12 might not be very strong to get you into every single school, especially the category A schools. But at least you know that if you are to read this program with grade aggregate 12, you are likely to perform well in it if you put in the effort. Now, let me show you something. General Arts, we know that you have to be strong in, for example, social studies to perform well in General Arts, right? So let's say you got grade 7 in social studies and you want to read General Arts. You see that now the fit preview is showing you that it's a stretch fit. Stretch fit meaning watch out, right? Because you scored a grade 6 or higher in one of the important subjects for this program, which was social studies, right? If you have multiple grade 7 and above, then it won't call out the specific subjects, but it will show you why there's a problem, right? Generally. So this is one of the smart ways that Sukumo lets you know which subjects that you are not, which programs that your grades might not be very strong for. So that's the first smart thing that Sukumo can do. Now, let's say when I was a teenager and I was choosing my programs, I was confused. I didn't know what to read, right? And so this second option here, under recommended, it tells you or it asks you a series of questions, and then it maps based on your answers, it maps your interests and your strengths. Your strengths are the subject grades that you got. It maps them to the SHS programs. And so let me demonstrate that to you in a second. So I'm going to tap on answer a few questions at the bottom here. And then there are a series of questions. So I'm going to put myself in the shoes of when I was a 15-year-old choosing programs, and the subjects that excited me the most in school, they were math and science. So I'm going to choose that. And then I think I was interested in becoming an innovator. So I'm going to choose innovator. And then I was interested in solving problems with numbers, and I wanted to own a business. So running a mini business, the subjects I used to score highest in were math and science. What motivated me was this. So let me answer these. And you see that at the end of the 10th question, there'll be some options here. So once you finish the quiz, we show you that these are suggestions, not decisions, right? So this we did based on feedback from one of our teacher consultants who made a very good point that we need to be clear that these program options are not set in stone, right? So what we did was to add that disclaimer. Now, based on my results or the results of the quiz and based on my grades, you see that there are 3 options that are being recommended to me. Option 1 is STEM, option 2 is general science, and option 3 is technical. So I read general science because I don't think we had STEM at the time, right? But if I were to choose my grades today, I probably would read STEM instead of general science. On the right, also, you see that there's the fit is still there. So the fit does not only show when you are choosing the program in the first option, it also shows here. So let's say I want to go with STEM. I'm just going to accept and click continue. So that is the second thing that Sukumo helps with. If you are not very sure what program you want to read, it's smart enough to give you some suggestions. If you say do not leave your selection in the hands of someone else, can individuals do their selection at home, or you have to do so at your GSS? This is a fantastic question, because ultimately the selection that you do, right, you have to transfer it to the CSSPS form. Right now, every school gets a paper form that they are supposed to fill, or that students are supposed to fill and sign with their parents and bring it to the school. So what Sukumo will help you do, or what I meant by that was, don't be passive in the school selection process, right? Do the selection yourself, either using Sukumo or using any other means you want, but be involved in it. That's what I meant by that. So we haven't gotten to the school selection point yet. That's where we'll be going next. So I will show you how the TVET looks like within the school selection portal itself for Sukumo. Unfortunately, right now, yes. So hopefully we get to the point where parents can use something like this within the comfort of their homes and just click a button and then it goes to CSSPS, right? But right now, the way the process is designed by GES and CSSPS is you still have to transmit your selection onto paper, right? And I'll show you how Sukumo makes that very straightforward. All right, so now we've chosen our program. Let's do the school selection. Before the school selection, there's also a button here or a feature called Compare Schools, right? Where you can select schools. Let's say I want to compare Accra Academy and Vijay, right? I can search for those schools and then select them. And then what I get is a side-by-side comparison of the 2 schools. And so all this information is from the official GES school register. So you see that for each school, you get the category of the school, you get the admission fit of the school, you get a region. Okay, so the school comparison tool, it gives you a lot of important information. For example, the districts the school is in, the location, the gender. So if you want to know whether a school is boys or girls or mixed, you can compare them. And then whether they are day and boarding or just day, you also see that option here, right? So you can select, I think, up to 3 schools to compare them. And more importantly, you can also see the programs they offer. So let's say I want to read General Accra Academy, and I want to see if Fijai offers the same program. I can see that from here, and it's very easy to do that. So that's one of my favorite features about Sukumo, the school comparison feature. So you can use that for your research, and also you can also filter to regions, to compare. Actually, you can select up to 5 schools to compare. So it's not 3, it's up to 5 schools. And then you can filter this to the program, right? So let's say I want to see business program or schools offering business in Greater Accra, like, because I have feature here. Yep. So Greater Accra schools that offer business, you see that you see a full list of all of them here. So you can use this feature for your research. It's one of my favorite ones. Now let's go to school selection, the part that we've all been waiting for. So last year, students were supposed to select a total of 7 schools, 5 main schools and 2 alternative schools. This year, it's different. It's a total of 8 schools. And this is based on what we know from what GES has shared with us so far, right? But basically, for the first time, last year, there were a set of rules that everybody had to follow. So there were no options, right? This year, there are 2 options. Option 1 is you do what they call the balanced selection, where you choose 2 schools from category A, 2 schools from category B, 2 schools from category C, and each school has to be, each category needs to have 1 day and 1 boarding, right? That's what we call the balanced selection, and this is close to what GES has offered over the past couple of years. Option 2 is you only choose category C schools. So if you think your grades are not very competitive for category A schools or category B schools, they give you the option to choose all your 6 schools from category C. So here you don't choose any category A or B, right? And here also you are supposed to choose a total of 3 day schools and 3 boarding schools. And so that is for the main, what we call the main selection for the 6 schools for this year. Then for the alternatives, you also choose 2 alternative schools. That selection needs to come from a specific list of schools in Appendix 3 from the GS register. So what that means is you can, and let me show you how Sukumo helps with that. So let's say I want to choose balanced, right? Balanced meaning I want to choose 2 schools from category A, 2 from B, and 2 from C. Let me change my profile back to reflect grade 2 here and go back to school selection. So you see that we rank the schools for you on your phone. So let's say my first choice. So let's say I want to study in Greater Accra and I want to read STEM, right? What I'll first do is I'll filter regions to Greater Accra for my first choice. And then I will filter all programs to STEM, right? And then you see 2 things. You see firstly the schools that fit that filter, right? So these are all of the Greater Accra schools that offer STEM. And you have Accra Senior High and have Achimota. And then if I want to pick Achimota, you see that it's showing category A and it's showing stretch, right? That means that for STEM program at Achimota, it's likely my grade 12 might not meet the cutoff, right? So let's say I want to play it safe. I can go with Accra Senior High, tap on this, and then tap on the STEM, and then choose boarding here. And then for the STEM subject, I'll choose engineering science. That's my first choice. Now, for second choice, let's say I want to choose, actually, let me undo that. Let's say I want to choose same STEM and then choose Greater Accra. I want to choose category A, and so I'll choose Achimota here and choose STEM and choose boarding and choose agric science. That's the first one that I'm going to pick here. And then for the second choice, let's say I want to pick another category A school, right? Maybe I don't care where it is so long as it's STEM, because I need to choose 2 category A schools. So I filter to category A, filter to the program. Let's filter to maybe Eastern region because Eastern is close to Greater Accra. So you see there are no options here. So this tells you that for category A for STEM in Eastern region, you don't have any options. So let's open this up to all regions. Now, let's say I want to pick Fijai. Fijai is in Western. It's a bit far from Accra, but because I want STEM and that seems to be one of the closest, I'm just going to go with Fijai. Now, let me show you something. You remember that for every category under the balance selection, you have to choose 1 boarding and 1 day. See what happens when I change or when I choose boarding for Fijai. I get an error message. Let me still choose a STEM. So you see that when you make a selection that doesn't meet the GES or CSSPS requirement or rule, you get an error message, and you can tap on the error message to see what the error is. So you see here that category A boarding is highlighted. It shows 2 out of 1, which means I can only select one category A boarding school, but I've chosen 2, right? And so what I can do is I can go back here and be like, okay, which of these do I want to be boarding at, and which of these do I want to be day at, right? Let me choose day for Achimota, and you see that the error message resolves. So this is one of the smart ways that Sukumo helps you to keep your selection compliant. And so let's say for category B schools, let me choose that one STEM school for category B, and you see there are a few options here. KNUST Senior High, what program STEM, which of the STEM subjects, biomedical science. Let me choose boarding because KNUST is far from me. I live in Accra. And then for category B, for the second category B choice, you remember that Sukumo recommended they recommended STEM and science for me, right? So I'm going to choose science here and choose category B here and see what schools I'm recommended. Well, let me filter to the region to Greater Accra. So these are the Greater Accra schools that offer science. Let's say I really like Laboni, it's category B, it's close to me, it has both day and boarding. So I'm going to choose day at Laboni and choose general science. So I'm done with my second category B school. I look at the bottom here, I'm seeing looking good, no issues, which means I can keep going. Then my third would be category C schools to read science. I wanted to be in the Greater Accra region. These are the options. So I'll pick day, it's day only. So you see that you don't have to go and look in a spreadsheet to see whether Tema Methodist day is day or boarding, right? You see the options right up front. And so I pick day only, and then I pick general science here. And then I pick my last school under category C. Let's say general science again here, and Greater Accra, and down to pick Christian Methodist. Christian Methodist is probably day only, so I can't choose it. If I choose it, then it means I have to remove Tema Methodist, right? So let's change the school altogether. Let's find another category C school offering science and in the Greater Accra region, right? So let's go for Ashaman Senior High. Let's pick boarding here because we've already chosen day for Tema Methodist under category C, and let's choose science. Now we are done with our selection of 6 schools. One thing you can do with Sukumo is, let's say you wanted to swap the position of Achimota with Fijai because you think you want Fijai to be your first choice. You can use the 2 arrow buttons here to tap on it, and then Fijai becomes your first choice. So let's undo that. Now, the other thing is, now we are done with the main 6 schools. So let's look at the alternatives. Remember I was telling you the alternatives, you can only choose from Appendix 3, right, of the GES register. We've already preloaded the Appendix 3 schools here for you. So you can just go straight ahead and pick the schools you want. Here, I picked building construction because I have a family member who is into building construction. I think it might be interesting as alternatives. And I picked an Agri-Tech Institute because I'm interested in computer hardware. But for TVET programs, we preload all these for you. So if I wanted to choose Wood Tech, I could very well choose Wood Tech for it. And for the 2 alternatives in 6 selection, GSAs, both of them have to be boarding. So we've coded that into Sukumo so that if I were to change this today, you see the error message here, right? So boarding, let's do boarding. Someone had a question about TVET. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's say I wanted to choose TVET for my category C school. I'm going to choose TVET in the programs here and see what school I want to go to. So let's say TVET in Greater Accra. Let's say Dodowa Technical. So once you choose TVET, there are a lot of TVET options. So you have to select which of them you want for the school you've chosen. So let's say I want to choose building construction here as well and choose, okay, there'll be a problem because this is day, this is also day. So this is where the research, comes in, right? So let's say I want to choose TVET for Greater Accra Boys and Mixed Schools for category C. And I want day and boarding. I want Kanda because it has both day and boarding. And I'm going to choose garment and fashion tech. So you see that we very easily show you the schools and the programs that they have available, right? And then you see the residence options that you have. So now that's how the TVET works. So once you select the TVET program for the school, it shows you all the program options that are available for TVET at that school. So now we have a valid selection. The way we know it's a valid selection is we can see here, right? The selection validity portion is showing and it's telling us we are ready to submit. And so you can also tell from the bottom of the page, looking good, no issues. That means your selections meet all the requirements. So you can print your selection as a PDF or you can take a screenshot of it. So what we'll do, and even before you print out, we show you every school and the school code, right? And the program code. Those three things are what you need for the CSSPS form at your school. So let's say now we are happy with this selection. We want to print it. We just tap on print selection and then I'm going to tap on save as PDF. And you see that automatically this populates in the way that, let me download it. This populates in the way that your school would require you to bring it in as, right? So I know the size is small. Please expand it a bit on your phone to see. But you see that for every school, we pre-populate the school code for you, the school name for you, the category. So you see AA, BB, CC, the program code, and then the program names that you selected, and then whether it's day or boarding, right? And then you see the same thing for your alternative. This is exactly how most schools would ask you to bring in your selection. So what you can do is you can save this as PDF and then take it to your school, or you can take a screenshot, and when you go into your school, you just look at the selection in the screenshot and share it with your teacher, right? So usually the teacher will have you print out or will have you fill the form and then transfer your selection to the form, right? So that is how Sukumo helps. Are you guys able to see the PDF that I'm talking about? Is it visible on the screen? Okay.
Yeah,
I get it.
it is.
Okay, perfect. So
It's a bit blurred.
sorry?
It's a bit blurred, like when you zoom it.
Okay, it's a bit blurred. Yeah, that's because I've not downloaded as PDF. Let's see. Okay, give me 1 second.
So as you are doing this, I have some questions. Can I ask?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So my first one is not a question, but I want to applaud you for the good work that you've done. So far, so good. Good
Thank
present. I want to find out the categories of schools.
Mm-hmm.
What I heard was they were going to upgrade some of the schools to like category A, category B, C, like they were going to do some upgrading.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any version of the schools that they've moved them from B to A, or maybe from C and they've moved them to B?
Mm-hmm.
That can help us.
Yeah, that's a good question. So they are yet to send out the register of schools for 2026, right? So the categories that we have now are for 2025, right? So having said that, though, we know for a fact that only a few schools get upgraded and downgraded every year. So less than 5% of schools actually get upgraded or downgraded. So what that means is, for the purposes of your research and selection, before you actually start the school selection process on the 20th of July, we would have obtained the new school register. So you would have the 2026 versions loaded into Sukumo for you to use. But for now, just to give folks, because 95% of the schools will not change, right? Only a few will change. So we thought, instead of waiting to get the latest numbers or the latest categories, why not use the 25 categories, because most of them will be the same, but we are sure that before you start the actual selection, after school results are released, we would have updated the current list with the 2026 list. Does that help?
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Good
So
question.
my second one has to do with the app.
Yeah.
And is there a cost to it?
No, so there's no cost to it. It's all completely free right now, right? So that might change next year, but for this year, we are trying to test it out, get your feedback, and make sure that it's truly useful to students, parents, teachers. So for this year, we are not charging any money for it. Hopefully, it stays that way. But as you can tell, it's not. It's a lot of work has gone into this, right? So let's see how things go. But for this year, there's no cost to use the app.
All right, thank you. I think that's where we are grateful for that.
Thank you for your feedback. So
Yeah.
I would encourage everybody to, like, you can put in dummy grades, right? Or fake grades into the tool, and then just go through the flow and see how it works. And then, join the WhatsApp group. Let me drop the WhatsApp group link within the chat. But while I do that, are there any questions from you guys in here, either on the school selection process or on the demonstration or anything else?
Celeste, please, can I ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Please, Francis. When we were doing the demonstration, I've seen stretched and
Mhm.
likely.
Mhm.
Clarification. In the stretch means that your grade is likely not to get a choice of school, and likely will get you. It's not much competitive, and you are likely to get it. I want the difference. Thank you.
Perfect question. You've earned yourself a nice little gift from us. So that's one thing that I
Thank you very much.
So please drop your name and your number in the group chat, and we'll reach out to you. And I forgot, I didn't catch the name of the person who asked the question before yours, but you've also won yourself a nice little gift. So please, both of you, drop your names and numbers in the chat. But really, what a stretch means is
It's good that you've come back to me. If not, I would have just attacked you straight.
please no attack. We'll take care of you too. But yeah, you see that for my grades in the demo is aggregate 12. It's a very strong aggregate. No two ways about that. But there are schools that are so competitive that for a particular program like STEM, you'll be competing against a lot of other people, right? So let's choose general science as another example. General science at Achimota, it will be very competitive. So what that means is, for science, your grades might not meet the cutoff for Achimota General Science. But let's change this to a different program and see what that looks like. You see that at the same Achimota, when I change it to home economics, it's now showing us likely. So our tool is intelligent enough to show you at a program level how you fare against the school's cutoff grades. So you are likely to get into Achimota with aggregate 12, right? For home economics. But if you want to read general science at the same Achimota, then now it's a stretch. And it's the same thing it's the same interpretation for every school. Let's say Fijai, I want to read STEM at Fijai and I have the same aggregate 12. It's showing as likely, right? But if I want to read that same STEM it will show as a stretch. So that's the difference. And if you ever forget, you can just tap on this and then it explains to you what the label means, likely versus stretch. So that was a great question. Very, very fantastic. Any more questions? Yeah.
Can you still explain a little bit about this? I think so. Does it mean, is it because of the type of school or the grade?
It's both. It's both. So think about it this way. Category A schools, like a lot of people are trying to get into category A schools, right? So if there are 100 spots, right? And there are 100 people who have grades between 6 and 10, and you have 12, those 100 spots will be filled with 100 people whose aggregate is, a bit better than yours. And so by the time it gets to you, there'll be no spots left. So it's a stretch for you to choose that school. Having said that, you remember I said at the beginning that this is all based on probabilities, right? So this is based on cutoffs from previous years and what we know about the schools. So it can very well be that for this year, you choose, Achimota for STEM, right? Have aggregate 12. And then you might be lucky enough to get in, right? But what I would recommend is if your aggregate is not very competitive, you want to, play it safe, right? So at the end of the day, it comes to you as an individual. Aggregate 12, Motown, STEM, it's showing a stretch. But, do I believe in myself that, it's going to work out? If I think the answer to that question is yes, then I leave Achimota as my first choice here. But if I'm not very confident, then it might make sense for me to swap Fijai with Achimota because Fijai is showing as likely for me. So my chances of getting into Fijai, because I put it as my first choice, those chances are higher than to get into Achimota. Does that help?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. But what if you change the course? If your aggregate is 12, so instead of let's say the science, let's say I choose visual arts and I still want to go to Motown with the 12.
So now you see
Can
I
you
changed to likely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, but remember what I cautioned you against at the beginning.
Yeah.
Optimize or prioritize a program over the school, not vice versa. So at the end of the day, it's your choice. Some people want to go to schools that their parents went to or their cousins went to or whatever. But my advice would be prioritize a program over the school. That would be my little advice to you all. Okay. Are there any other questions? I see we've been on for a little over an hour now, so we'll take questions for another 5 minutes.
Yeah. Please, I have 2 questions to ask.
Go ahead.
Please, I've heard something that you can decide to place maybe category B schools at your second and third.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? That it's important at your first and second, then the B at your second and third.
That is a fantastic question. If you haven't dropped your name and number in the chat, please do that now. You also won yourself a little gift. So think about the rankings. Let me go back to this. Think about your choices in terms of this is a school I really want to go to and I'm most likely to get into, right? So for grade aggregate 12, category A is likely for this student. But let's say you had aggregate 15 or aggregate 18. Then all of a sudden, now you're not very competitive for the category A schools, or at least not for all the programs at the category A schools. So let's do that live. Let's say I scored 4 here, scored 4 here. That's 2 plus 2, 4 plus 12, 16. Let me add 1 here. Let me add 1 here. All of a sudden, 3 and 3. Yeah. All of a sudden, my aggregate is 18. Now let's go back to the school selection. You'll see that now the program fit is showing as workable, right? That means that even if I get into Fijai to read science, it might be very hard for me, right? Because it's a workable fit. So look at the fit as well at the bottom. So long story short, you can have 2 category B schools as your first choice. Let's actually move KNUST to your first choice and then move Laboni also to your second choice. This is a ranking that you are likely to get placed. You are more likely to get placed for because category B schools are less competitive than category A schools. So you can hit the schools in any order that you want, right? The only thing is you need to make sure that you are doing it in a way that meets the rules. And all of this, I want to caveat that all of this is based on what we know currently about the GES CSSPS rules for 2026. So when the official register comes out, we'll be comparing these rules to the final rules, and then we'll update our rules to the final rules if need be, right? So the nice thing about Sukumo is we make it very easy for you to make sure that you are meeting the rules. And so we'll really appreciate it if you can share if you're on the WhatsApp group, please share the group invite with your friends and other parents and other teachers who could benefit from this, because we want it to reach as many people who need it as possible, right? So really appreciate that. Okay, so we've been speaking. Sorry?
Please, can I ask another question?
Yeah, last question.
Please, can I ask?
Yeah, let's take a last question.
So what? Okay, so after you are done selecting your school with the courses you want to go and pursue, so for you, maybe you want to go and offer science, all your schools, or you have to change it at some places.
That's a good question. So you don't have to choose science throughout, right? But remember that we spoke about programs. So if you know the program you really want, you can choose it throughout if you want, right? And if you feel like your grades are strong for it. But you can also choose maybe 2 programs throughout or 3 throughout. There are no rules about what the mix of programs should be. Does that help? Okay. So we have come to the end of the webinar. I would like to end by saying that results are likely to come out sometime this week or shortly after, right? There's mixed information out there as to when exactly it will come. But I don't think that's what should be your focus. Your focus should be, what do I do once results are out? And I think what you should be doing is to be researching now. The program quiz that I just walked you guys through, you can take that quiz even without your grades being out now, right? So you can be doing that while waiting, so that as soon as results come out and you know what your actual grades are, you set your profile, and then you actually start the school selection process, because by then you'd know exactly what programs you want, and then you would also have done the research around actual schools you want to go to. So I see that there are no more questions, and so those of you who engaged will be reaching out with your little gifts. If you spoke and you haven't dropped your contact, this is your sign to. I wish all of you the best, and let's stay engaged on the WhatsApp group. And if you have any questions, you can either email us at info@sukumordotcom, or you can message our WhatsApp number from the website. Thank you, guys. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you for joining.
Very much for this insightful.
Thank you.
God bless you.
And if you are a teacher or a school and you think something like this, a webinar like this for your students might be helpful, feel free to message us within the WhatsApp group.